Hello everybody, Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas. Got a little video I'm going to make for you today. I saw a Crime Stoppers tip come across my Facebook just a few minutes ago, and I shared it. It's about Caitlin Denison, a young girl from Reno. Met a guy in Reno from Midland, flew back to Midland, has never been seen again. I've made several videos about Caitlin and suggested that you know, we exposed the underground homes. Maybe she was taken underground here. That kind of makes sense. Here, I'm going to read this to you. This is right from Midland Crime Stoppers. Here, they offered a reward, $2,500 cold case missing person. Here it says Midland Crime Stoppers asking the public's help. On January 2018, Caitlin Denison of Reno, Nevada, told her family she was in Midland with a man she met in Reno. Her family advised they received a call from Caitlin sometime on January 10th, 2018, telling them how she felt scared for her life. She had never been seen from or heard from since. Caitlin's described as 5 feet, 120 pounds, blonde hair, blue eyes. Caitlin has a tattoo on her left finger of an alien head and the letter M. She also has a tattoo of a Libra scale on her left forearm. She has 2 piercings on the left side of her nose and a piercing on her bottom lip. If you have information on Caitlin, it could be worth $2,500. No caller ID is ever used, and you will remain anonymous. And they tagged in the police department, CBS, News West 9, KMID News, KPEJ, the 101.3, and the Midland Reporter Telegram. They tagged them on it. I shared this. I have a tip for them, okay? And I've said this before, and I'm gonna say it again. And until somebody listens here, I mean, I think that you're gonna find that this is a valid tip, and it's real possible that it could provide us answers for Caitlin if we could ever find some legitimate law enforcement here in Midland, okay? And so here, let me start. I've made several videos about Caitlin Denison, and I think the secret underground homes near my home, where it's believed another young girl was murdered for refusing to prostitute at a 2010 oil show party, may have been a place that Caitlin was taken. Remember, Angie, my friend, told me about a young girl murdered at a party going on. It was 5 minutes from my house, okay? And in 2013, the remains of a young girl was found outside of Midland. After I had survived a home invasion and premeditated capital murder attempt in January 2012, I returned from the hospital. I had a home health care nurse that would come by my home 3 times a week and change the wound vac bandages. Most of the time, it was a young lady named Melissa Gibbs who was from Big Lake. She was the nurse. I was sharing with her what had happened and what was going on at my home. At this time, I was suspecting that my x-rays had been faked in an attempt to cover up this failed murder that would have made the sister-in-law of the ER doctor rich. This was before I found irrefutable proof that is exactly what happened. And the sister-in-law of the ER doctor was the ex-wife I'd filed divorce on 5 days earlier. One day I asked Melissa to hide a small silver pendant in the bandages that she was putting on, but she said, "But you have x-rays coming up." And I said, "I know," and I smiled. She then told me that she didn't feel comfortable doing this, and I said, "But Melissa, they're trying to cut my leg off." And that's exactly what they were trying to do. They were trying to cut the evidence off. She knew that was true and felt guilty. Melissa then starts telling me the story of a wealthy guy in Midland who was older than me, and she said that he took a large group of girls to Reno, Nevada every year. I'm not sure if she had gone up there with them or had heard about it, but I got the feeling she was telling me this guy was involved in sex trafficking and the underground homes here. About that time, boom! The burglar in the attic was listening to our conversation and threw something down, which made a super loud noise. We both jumped. It was clear the burglar was telling Melissa she needed to shut up. Her hands were shaking, and she hurried up and finished to never come back to my home again. I wondered if this guy that Melissa told me about knew something about Caitlin Denison, since she met a guy in Reno and came back to Midland to never be seen again. Do you see how a good lead that is? I tried to find Melissa online without any luck, but I suspect that somebody from Big Lake knows where she is. I thought I turned in a Crime Stoppers for this before, but I'm not sure since I've contacted so many people so many times. I think I'll submit another Crime Stoppers and reference Lieutenant Gray at the Midland Sheriff's Department, because I talked to him last week, provided him evidence. I spoke with him a week ago and provided him a lot of evidence on the underground homes, crimes, and multiple murders that I believe happened or connected with them. I even let him listen to the video for the police scanner calls for people in the attic and showed him the list of 42 other homeowners that I've documented reporting people in the attic since I was ambushed and shot reporting people in my attic. And it's more than that now. That validates his story and shows what a good lead this is. Those underground homes need to be exposed ASAP. I think we can all agree to that, okay? And then I put a few comments down here for everybody on Facebook that wants to follow it. This video shows the evidence that I provided to Lieutenant Gray at the Midland Sheriff's Department. I made that just a few minutes before I drove up to the Sheriff's Department, and I showed the evidence that I gave him. I said this next one comment is this video that I let Lieutenant Gray listen to at the Midland Sheriff's Department. He seemed surprised and didn't seem to realize that these crimes were so common while being hidden from the public by our press. Okay, that's a real super short video called People in the Attic, 2 minutes. Played it many times. This is it right here. We'll just play a few minutes of it here.
That woman is facing charges after police say she burned down her home to get rid of someone who she claimed was in the attic.
That was Carlsbad, New Mexico. Midland.
Here's someone up in the attic. She smells cigarette smoke. She took her family. They're going to be waiting out front.
316 Geneva. Caller stating that he heard someone in the attic.
610 Jeter. The complaint's going to be a 7-year-old male. Stating he can hear yelling and fighting. His mother's in the attic. He can hear her being assaulted.
Okay, and let's see, there's a list from an old list for Midland, Odessa, because not all of them I heard on the police scanner. Sometimes, like, my roofer tells me about one, or I hear people contact me on Facebook, so it's a whole bunch more. And so it leaves no doubt. And imagine, this lieutenant at the sheriff's department listened to that. He was truly surprised. And then I showed him this, and this is a spreadsheet I built. I gave Lieutenant Gray a printed copy of this list of 42 other homeowners where the owners had reported people in the attic. He asked me, where did I get it? And I told him that I created it. I have screenshots and recordings for most of these as proof. He also asked me, how did I get the numbers to these other victims? And I told him that once I heard the address, then I would look up the owner online and search for them on Facebook and then send them a message. I hadn't talked to all of them, but I have talked to some of them. Some of them I got recorded, and I'll show you some of the addresses here. In Andrews, Austin, Bellamy, Carlsbad, 2 in Carlsbad, 2 in Obbs, Los Lunas, all bunch of Midland and Odessa right there, and how I heard about them, and there's other ones here, and really it's all the way from California to Alabama is what it is. A dozen addresses in Midland, another dozen in Odessa. So when I say I heard somebody in the attic, or I tell this story about me and Melissa here and the burglar slamming something down while Melissa's telling me the story, it's 100% true. There is a burglar in the attic. I saw a young Hispanic guy in my attic. I was shot with burglar alarms going in my attic. It's not a what if could be. It's not a mouse. Okay. Here's my next comment. I said, the nurse's notes showed that minutes after I was ambushed and shot with my phone lines cut, I was telling the ER staff that alarms were going off over and over. These were burglar alarms going off in my attic. Of course, dirty cop Rosie Rodriguez made up lies and said that I told her I was locking up for the night and knocked my gun over. I've wondered if Rodriguez was the shooter, aka would-be killer, and if not, I feel sure she knows who was. Come to find out that Detective Rosie Rodriguez was a lifelong friends with the ex-wife, who's the sister-in-law of the doctor. That's who I was talking about a while ago. Okay, so these are right from the nurses. This is part of my permanent medical record right here. There are sirens going off. The alarms kept going off. This is at 11:27, and I crawled out at 10:42. Okay, so I'm saying I was under a home invasion, and I was shot. Okay, Rosie Rodriguez, the detective, she says, I contacted Buddy Webb. He stated he lives here. He was locking up for the night. Advised he makes sure all doors and windows are locked before going to bed. He had a 12-gauge shotgun leaned up against the wall, and he knocked it over and shot himself, you know. And that was Rosie's lie right there. And she was caught tampering with evidence, lying multiple times. Multiple times. Obviously covering up this premeditated capital attempted murder that was going to make her friend rich. Okay. This is a video that I made about the young girl that Angie told me about was murdered at the oil show party in 2010. I tried to get Angie to report this murder, but she told me that she's afraid because high-level police were also at the parties. She was leaving my home and at the parties in 5 minutes, so I believe they were in the underground homes. We were talking on the phone as she drove there. It's, you know, and like I told Lieutenant Gray, you probably check the phone records and see the time that we talked on the phone. I believe that she was driving to the front of Home Depot. In that store, there was an underground entrance. Went underground there, come back via tunnel. You could see on Google Earth Maps coming back towards my home where the underground homes are. Her and all the people at the oil show party murders. And that's where they were drugging the girls and they were forcing them to prostitute. The one girl didn't want to prostitute and they murdered her. Okay, that's the short story. This is the underground home where I believe the forced prostitution was going on during the 2010 Permian Basin oil show, and possibly where Caitlin was taken. I was told on a recorded phone call there were 4 of these underground homes, and looks like one of them is in my backyard. This is like a 2011 Google Earth map, okay? This big building is the Midland Home Depot store. This is behind the Home Depot store right here, and look at this ditch that was cut right here in the ground. You can see the asphalt's a different color. That's coming from the Home Depot store aimed directly at my house. That's where I believe that Angie was in to go to the oil show parties, because in my backyard's where it's believed one of the underground homes is located, okay? And that's on Google Maps. You can see Google Maps. You put up my address and you would see a bunker in my backyard on the map screen, but you wouldn't see it. You don't see it from above ground, or if you're on top of ground or on the satellite screen. And it was just recently deleted when I contacted the city of Midland and told them it was there. And then all of a sudden, Google deletes it after being there for 10 years or something like that. And I suspected somebody at the city of Midland was trying to cover up these capital murders is really what I believe. But I think these underground homes is where we ought to be looking for Caitlin. Okay, I mean, that just makes sense. And then over here is just a list of the many people documented by recordings, etc., saying that there's underground homes here. You know, Rhonda Denman Rogers says there's an underground facility a half block away. That might be on Westmont Court. I got an idea where one of the other or 2 of the other ground homes are at. There's a phone call where a woman told me there's 4 3-bedroom $1 million underground homes buried at least 25 foot deep. She said they were having pedophile parties down there. I got a screenshot. Ricky Ronaldo told me on Facebook, him and his brother used to live in this house, and they'd go in the tunnels under it when they lived here. Another phone call recorded. Layla O'Brien, she's a CAD programmer. She told me she worked on this underground project. They finished in 1987 with a budget on permit of $7.35 million. Interestingly, I was told all the permits were accidentally deleted. Okay, so they're no longer there. Layla said she worked for PBK, and also they also built a school here in Midland. She's very believable. I asked her, did you have to sign any non-disclosure agreement? Oh, I had to sign more stuff for that job than any job I ever worked. You know, she said they were put in for the Bushes at the time. Vice President George H.W. Bush was vice president under Reagan in '87. Joe Lozano said that the late Sheriff Gary Painter used to hide out in these underground homes. And that one got Lieutenant Gray's attention because Joe Lozano was running for Midland Sheriff at the time when I recorded him. Kreiner's the one that won it, okay? I have the police report and the security cameras that proves that Officer Davis, Dickey, Chatwell, Angel, and Hale were in or at my home on the night of the murder attempt without being seen arriving on the security cameras. That's how we know they come from under my home. And how did they get to my home without being seen? They come in this tunnel right here. Is what they did. They come in the underground entrance from where I was shot from. One of them could be the shooter, aka would-be killers, okay? And you got some questions to answer. Angie McGee Hurley told me about the young girl being murdered. Okay, and I've heard other people. Yeah, Angie says she didn't say that. Well, she's been threatened. Of course, that's the problem here. That's what's going on. That's why she's afraid to report it in the first place. Said that high-level police were at the party, and then I'm calling her name out, and I'm sure they're going, here, we're gonna kill you and your family. What did you see? Oh, I didn't see nothing, and that's what's going on around here. But except these cops are under your house. Google Maps shows a large bunker in my backyard, can't be seen from above ground. Go look, it's right here. Of course, they had it, City of Midland had it deleted. And then here in 2019, I was back here with Homeland Security because they're supposed to take care of human trafficking, and this is a human trafficking, deal. And I'm showing them where the human trafficking murder tunnel's at. 2 weeks later, they dug up the ground, poured concrete there. I got it on video. Went viral. And then there's a screenshot of Lance Eggleston telling me, he says, we have access to your residence at all times. Nobody will ever believe your story. You'll be silent. It's not if, but when. That's just one of many death threats I've got after surviving a home invasion, premeditated murder. And let me tell you, what did I do? I bought a home. I worked all my life and bought a home, and I reported crime to police that were involved in committing the crimes. That's what I did. And it looks like they killed the guy that lived here before me. Last December, I submitted a Crimestoppers tip, and a few days later, I went to log in and add pictures for evidence when I noticed that somebody had deleted it. I contacted Attorney General Paxton and sent him a message advising him this was going on down here, and submitted a second tip. Also printed out that Crimestoppers and personally gave it to Lieutenant Gray at the Sheriff Department last week. And I have a video called Deleted Crimestoppers. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to send this, I'm going to make this in a video about Caitlin. I'm going to send this into Crimestoppers, and and whether they're going to delete it or not, I don't know, but that seems to be what's going on here. This is Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas.